Welcome back. I don't know about you, but reflecting on the grandfather's story during that break really got me thinking about the power of hope, especially when things feel impossible.
Oh, yeah, you and me both. It's
Yeah,
like his story becomes this tangible example of that verse in Romans.
yeah.
Hope does not disappoint because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit who was given to us.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't just wishful thinking for him. Facing those conditions in Siberia, his hope of returning to his family had to be rooted in something deeper, almost like a conviction.
What's interesting is how the sources connect this idea to the biblical concept of hope as this active, sustaining force during tough times.
Yeah,
It's not just about feeling optimistic. It's about this deep-seated confidence in God's goodness, even when our circumstances scream otherwise.
yeah. So it's like hope becomes this source of strength that fuels perseverance even when things are really dark. It's not just a feeling, it's something that propels us forward.
That's exactly what I'm seeing too. And the more we understand God, the more we trust him, the stronger that hope becomes. It's
Mhm.
less about our circumstances and more about the object of our hope.
That makes me think about the contrast between the potential inheritance and the grandfather's actual experience. The inheritance represents something temporary,
Right.
something that could be lost, while the hope he held on to proved to be far more enduring.
It's like his story reframes that whole idea of treasure.
Yeah,
Maybe true treasure isn't about material possessions, or rather those things that can't be taken away: faith, hope, love, integrity.
that's a pretty powerful takeaway.
It is.
It makes you reevaluate your own priorities, doesn't it? Like, what are the things that you're clinging to that might not actually hold up under pressure?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the true treasures that you're investing in?
Those are some excellent questions for all of us to consider.
Yeah,
And speaking of valuable things that can sometimes get lost,
yeah.
let's talk about the letter from the Queen.
Okay.
The sources don't dwell on it too much, but I can't help but wonder about its significance.
I know, right? It felt like such a poignant detail. What do you make of it?
Well, on the surface, it represents a tangible connection to the past, to the grandfather's history. But it also seems symbolic of something more profound.
Okay.
Perhaps a sense of recognition, validation, even honor that was ultimately lost.
Yeah, it's like it represents something he couldn't regain despite his resilience and perseverance. Even after escaping Siberia, he still experienced this profound loss.
And I think that speaks to a truth we often overlook. Even those who demonstrate incredible faith and resilience still face challenges and losses. It's not about avoiding hardship altogether, it's about how we navigate it.
So it's not about becoming invincible, it's about learning to find strength and hope even when life throws those curveballs.
Exactly. And I think that's where the idea of miraculous provision comes into play. Think about the grandfather's escape from Siberia.
Hmm.
The sources highlight this unexpected help he received from a Russian family
Yeah.
who risked their own safety to aid him.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that God can work through anyone, anywhere, to accomplish his purposes. Sometimes help comes from the most unlikely of sources.
It makes you wonder if we're too quick to limit God's ability to work in and through others,
Right.
especially those we might perceive as different or even opposed to us.
It definitely challenges you to broaden your perspective and be open to the unexpected ways that God might show up.
Yeah.
And, thinking about that unexpected help makes me consider Mary Alice's point about trials being opportunities for transformation.
Oh, that's right. She challenges us to see trials not as setbacks, but as chances to become more like Christ. It's a pretty radical perspective shift.
Yeah, instead of asking us, why is this happening to me?
Right.
We start asking, what is God teaching me through this?
That's a great way to put it. And the grandfather's story is a perfect example of this. His time in Siberia, as brutal as it was likely, refined his character in ways he couldn't have imagined.
So maybe those trials, those seemingly impossible situations actually become crucibles
Right.
that forge resilience, compassion, and deeper faith.
It certainly seems that way. And as we discussed earlier, Mary Alice even encourages us to pray, Lord, please show me how you're going to use all the misery I went through for ministry.
It's like she's inviting us to view our pain through a different lens,
Right.
to see the potential for it to be used for something greater than ourselves.
It's about finding meaning in our suffering by using it to offer hope and encouragement to others who might be walking a similar path.
That's such a beautiful concept.
It is.
And I think it ties directly into the idea of sharing our stories, which Mary Alice also emphasizes. She talks about the importance of identifying where our unique experiences might intersect with the needs of others.
It's about recognizing that our stories, even the messy, broken parts, can be used to minister to others, to offer a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, and a reminder that they're not alone.
It's like we're all pieces of this larger tapestry,
Right.
each thread contributing to the overall beauty and complexity of the design.
And sometimes the most beautiful parts to tapestry are those threads that have been through the fire,
Yeah,
the ones that bear the marks of hardship and resilience.
that's a powerful image.
It is.
It makes you realize that your story, your struggles, your triumphs, they all have the potential to impact someone else's life.
It's a reminder that our lives are interconnected and that we have an responsibility to share our experiences, both good and bad, to offer hope and encouragement to others.
And that sharing that vulnerability creates connection, fosters empathy, and ultimately reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles. But it's not just about leaning on each other. It's about remembering that God is with us through it all. Mary Alice talks about the importance of clinging to God, His Word, and His people during trials.
It's like those three things become our anchors in the storm. When everything else feels uncertain,
Right?
we can hold on to the unshakable truth of God's presence, the promises in His Word, and the support of our community.
Those anchors can make all the difference when we're facing strong currents, can't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they keep us from being swept away by fear, doubt, or despair.
Absolutely. And I think that sense of security, that deep knowing that we're not alone, empowers us to step more fully into who God created us to be.
Yeah,
We become less afraid to use our gifts and talents to make a difference in the world.
it's like our fears become less about what if I fail and more about what if I miss an opportunity to be part of something bigger than myself.
That's a great way to frame it. And I think that shift in perspective is a direct result of remembering whose we are and who's fighting for us. Mary Alice also reminds us that God isn't holding out on us. He genuinely wants good things for us. He wants us to experience that abundant life that Christ promised.
And you know what her point about praying those impossible prayers really resonates with me.
Oh, yeah.
She actually saw those prayers being answered, which is so inspiring.
I agree. It's a powerful testament to the idea that nothing is impossible with God.
Yeah,
It challenges us to be bold in our requests, to believe that God can do far more than we can ask or imagine.
it's like she's saying, don't limit God.
Exactly. And don't limit yourself either.
Right.
When we partner with God in prayer, we tap into a source of power and provision that's beyond our comprehension.
But even with all that power, sometimes we still struggle to see the bigger picture to understand God's plan.
Right.
Mary Alice emphasizes the importance of seeking His guidance in all areas of our lives, trusting that He knows the path that leads to true fulfillment.
It's about aligning our will with His,
Yeah.
surrendering our plans to His wisdom, and trusting that He's leading us towards something far more incredible than anything we could conjure up on our own.
It's like exchanging a good travel itinerary for an epic adventure.
Right.
And that surrender, that trust, is where the real freedom lies, isn't it?
I believe so. It allows us to let go of the need to control everything and to rest in God's loving care, knowing that He's got this.
Yeah, it's a beautiful picture of what it means to walk by faith, not by sight.
Speaking of walking by faith,
Yeah.
Mary Alice talks about the importance of praying without ceasing. It's not just a ritual.
Right.
It's about nurturing that ongoing conversation with God,
Yeah.
inviting Him into every aspect of our lives.
It's like transforming prayer from a duty into a delight.
Exactly. When we experience that intimacy with God, that constant connection,
Yeah.
it changes everything. It impacts our decisions, our relationships, our entire outlook on life.
And it reinforces our understanding of God's faithfulness, which Mary Alice so beautifully highlights.
Yeah.
She reminds us that not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Everyone was fulfilled.
That's a promise worth clinging to,
Yeah.
especially in the face of uncertainty. It reminds us that God is trustworthy, that He keeps His word, and that He's actively working behind the scenes, even when we can't see it.
And recognizing that faithfulness should lead her to a place of gratitude even when things are tough.
Absolutely.
Like even in the midst of a trial, we can still find reasons to thank God for His goodness and His presence in our lives.
Gratitude really is a game changer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shifts our focus from what's lacking to what we've been given.
Yeah, it's like choosing to see the glass half full even when we're tempted to focus on the empty space. And that choice, that decision to cultivate gratitude can radically transform our experience of any situation.
It's about recognizing that even in the midst of challenges, we're still surrounded by blessings. But you know what? We've covered a lot of ground here. Maybe it's time to pause and give our listener a moment to process everything we've explored so far.
Yeah,
We can dive into those final points from our sources when we return for part 3.
sounds good to me. See you in a bit.